Is it on? So I know we don't have a huge crowd here, but this has a recorder on it. So we're recording all the answers and questions. So I figured we'll at least still do that so that people can still listen. I know, right? I'll repeat the question so we won't have to have anybody hold the mic necessarily. So my name is Rhiannon Lewis. I am a member of the product management team here at Infor. The one thing I like to tell people is I was a user. So I worked for 3 different companies that all use CSI. So I understand what it's like to be on your end of things and be frustrated and be happy and be all of everything in between. So I don't like to pretend I'm like a salesperson up here. So I'm truly here for the product and for our customers. So this is more you guys asking questions to us about, or me, I guess, about enhancement requests, which I know is an interesting topic probably for some of you that have been around for a little bit. So, but I'm going to open it up for you guys and just to, start out asking some questions, and then we can go down some different paths if we determine that we have a theme or something coming up. So who would like to ask the first question? So the question is, what type of enhancements are we talking about here? So I think we're probably mostly talking about when you, as a company, have an idea for something that you think should be in the product. When you submit an enhancement request through our enhancement request system, how do you get that noticed more, and how do you get what can you do with that request that will get it prioritized? So, and even if you aren't necessarily submitting the enhancement requests, what might you do to suggest that to whoever your, system admin is, or whoever is the person that can submit those requests? Mm-hmm. Right. So, comment being when someone like, a John Brown with APS goes in and tells people on forums and sends out emails that they should endorse the enhancement requests. You're right. Yes, that we do look at those requests, obviously, that have more. And I'm one of the people that's on this project. So I have not been on it super long, but we're turning the tide on this, so we can talk more about that. But we do look at the ones that have had more endorsements, more votes, because obviously if it's something that multiple customers are asking for, then it's something we want to pay attention to and consider as a good idea, because it's going to affect multiple people. So yes, that's right. So advertising your enhancement request when you put it in is a great idea. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's hard, yeah. So it's hard to get, if you enter an enhancement request, how do you actually get that out to people to recommend?
You should totally hand out flyers in the sun next year. I'm serious. Like, do that. Yeah.
Go for it.
If that thing is incorrect, that should be a bug. Well, it wasn't my request. I don't know. I get the email that we go to all of this. We got forward to the yeah. But I mean, I can tell you where I see enhancement requests come in is the Sun forums, which I only look at like once a year, usually. Sorry, so LinkedIn, and then just really kind of what. So to advertise your enhancement request, that's what I see.
So Sun Forum, you're seeing people advertising on the Sun forums, on the LinkedIn user network group, and then on the regular enhancement request forum.
But I guarantee if you hand out glitter balloons
and glitter balloons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what Katie is saying is that you can sign up to be notified when things happen on the forum, when things happen on the enhancement request system. We've also got to just we are there. Infor is looking at the enhancement system in general and making improvements to it. Now, I don't know any more than that, but I know they are looking at ways to improve that. I don't know if that means a new platform or enhancements to the existing platform, but so I'm hopeful that we'll be seeing something in the fairly near future on that. Excuse me. Uh-huh. Okay. So bringing them up at the monthly like Sun webinars or your idea kind of put me onto something here. So we have a lot of cleanup to do, admittedly, and you're not alone in saying that the enhancement request system is where things fall into a black hole. We recognize that. I'm admitting that to you, right? We are in the active process of changing that right now. So we have more people on the team now, and we are dedicated to starting to resolve those. There's a lot of things out there that should have been support tickets that have been submitted that we are actually in the process right now of cleaning up. I just had an email about it yesterday. There's a lot of duplicates out there. So we can identify what those duplicates are, and then we merge them. So if you do submit something, because nobody has time to read through 500 enhancement requests and see if theirs is on there already. So we can go through and identify those duplicates, which is another thing that we're doing. So I personally exported all of the enhancement requests a couple of weeks ago, and we're starting to go through them. So, I can tell you this is something we are actively working on cleaning up. And then going forward from that point, I think is where we need to put something in place where maybe we share it with the Sun group, or maybe we send out a monthly email. I don't know how many, that's a good question. How many people pay attention to emails that Infor sends out? Okay. Well, and that's one of the concerns, right? Is we know we send out communications and not everybody gets them. So is that the right platform? Do we sign up? Do we send out yeah? I'm sorry. Okay, well, go for it. Okay, so sending out like a poll every month of the top 5 issues that we've received once we've got everything cleaned up, and so would you get that link like via an email, or I don't know how else? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sure.
Don't let marketing get involved.
Send it from my.
Opening paragraph, any closing paragraph, it just needs enhancement request this detail.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So simple, quick, clear vote. Okay. So, and maybe this is purely selfish on my part. So, the question being, I don't know that we need a whole new system, because the system is fine in how we use it and submit it. It offers us very few tools on the back end to be able to manage things. So it's also, it comes a little bit overwhelming to us because there's not much there that we can use to flag things and categorize things internally in a way so that it makes it a little bit more manageable for us. So I think, we're talking about AI, right? Wouldn't AI make sense to say, go read through all of these, enhancement requests and tell me which ones are asked for most? So those are the kind of the types of things that I think we really need to look into so that we can more quickly react to things and categorize things. And once we're working on getting everything cleaned up. Once that happens, I'm sorry. You know, yeah, it is, but I find it fascinating to read all of the things that people have submitted. I do. It's I'm very passionate about the product and about our customers, and I think there are phenomenal ideas that come out of this. And that's one of the other things too, is that there are so many great ideas. There's no way we can do them all, at least right now at this point. So we're hopeful in the future maybe we can start getting to a lot of that stuff. But but I think, yeah, getting them in front of people and obviously getting more endorsements and votes on things is really one of the keys to doing that. So yeah, once we're cleaned up, we're in the process. I've gone through and we've reduced by about 50, I think, so far, just in one shot. So why you're laughing? That's interesting because my number only shows like only this is relative, about 550. So- right. Does that include the archive? Wow. Because that's so, see, our systems don't match up. So I'm only seeing 500 and some. So when we open it on our end. So I guess that's something to look into. So how do we determine whether it's something we want to put into the product as, part of the core, or if it's something that we refer back to the customer or their partner to say, this is really, I think, something that you should, yeah, that I don't like that phrase.
It's not just that, right? Like, does this change apply to you in your world only?
This is recorded, so you should be on the recording too.
Almighty. Does your change apply just to you and your company? Or do you think it can apply to all companies that could or would use Sightline? Or a significant percentage, right? Not all functionality is in there and so on, but like as a when you're looking at a thing or a customization that you're looking to do, another way to look at it is to say, could I build this as a enhancement and then sell it, right? And actually make money, right? Not to mean that you would actually do that, but if you're thinking about it that way, if you're thinking about, is this an enhancement that if I built it, I could make money selling it by applying it to every other company who's at Sun, then that's an appropriate enhancement request. Capitalism. 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 Well, I don't think that's in the realm of possibilities. I mean, I'm speaking way out of turn. But sure. But you can certainly sell it, maybe. What is the general process?
Yeah. So, first part of your question is there kind of a minimum number of votes for us to get it to a certain level where we would consider it, right? And then the second part of the question is how do we yes, is there a way to consolidate? Sorry, it's been a long week, guys. It's been a long week, Jared. Is there a way to consolidate? Yes, there is a way to. I'll start with that first. There is a way to consolidate. We do it manually. There is a spot where we will reference the initial or the master, I guess, if you will, when we will consolidate. What I don't know if we're doing right now, and I'll have to look, is are we going back and looking at archived enhancements to see if it's also there to combine those in as well? Because who knows, there could, it could be archived with 10 votes, and if you pull it back up, now you've got 3 more or something, right? So that's a good one I will follow up on. And then the first question is, typically if it starts to get 10-ish endorsements, we'll start to look at it, but we sort it by, when we do our sort, we do a couple different sorts, but we will sort it decreasing by enhancement number of votes. So if it's above 0, we look at all of them. So we really start thinking about considering it if it's, well, it depends. And sometimes it depends on what it is, right? Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Of votes?
Or partners too.
It's got to be 10 customers. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Sure. So the topic is for the recording is if multiple. Well, the first question was, can a customer submit multiple requests, or will a customer, if they have multiple people submitting requests, does it only count as one? Technically, it only counts as one. Okay. So they hard coded that. So all right. And then the add-on to that is, what if there are multiple similar requests out there, and to be able to reference those other ones? And then how are we identifying, or how do we identify? There's only like 3 people doing this. So it's not like we have a giant team going through these requests. It's me and 2 others. So we review them on a regular basis, and we kind of know. And there are ones that, like, oh, okay, I remember. And there are some things that we have gotten for a lot over the years, like multiple vendor contacts. We're working on that, I think, either for April or October, I can't remember. But that's one we've been getting for years, is to be able to have multiple vendor contacts. So we know these things pretty well, and we are able to indicate which ones are similar in nature. So yeah, you've. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mhm. Oh, okay. Hmm. Sure. Send me an email. I mean, that's all I have right now. Yeah, send me an email. I have cards. I might even have. Yeah, I have all of them.
Can we send you whiskey?
No, me?
Yeah.
Why?
For
Oh, for
flowers. To your office. What forms of bribery work best?
I don't have to think about
Tequila?
that one. Mm, I know. I think going forward, what my plan is to have somebody that's looking at them daily, regularly, to make sure that any of those things that come in are taken care of right away. I don't know if it's not, if there are folks that don't understand the difference, because I don't know if they're new or if they're just trying to get attention because they can't run reports in their system. So they're submitting it anywhere they can to try and get visibility to it. So, but going forward, we want to be able to knock those out as soon as they get submitted so that it doesn't clutter up the list. Because there's way too much of that stuff. So but for now, yeah, send me an email if you see something. Um, I am hoping probably within the next 2 to 3 months. I think so. We've had some restructuring on our team in a good way, and I think so. We have more availability now to be able to address these things quicker and at least get them kind of initially processed quicker and get the junk out right off the bat, and then start bubbling up some of the other things to the surface. So yeah, I'm hoping to get that under control here pretty swiftly. Exactly. Once you're in them, you remember that, oh yeah, I had so and so, submit that one, because I've already been able to do that from just going through the list. I've exported the list, I don't know, half a dozen times over the last 6 months or so, and yeah, you start to recognize, like, oh yeah, this is I recognize this one. And sometimes too, people, I don't know, I think it happens when somebody clicks twice maybe, and the same exact thing is duplicated with 2 ERS numbers right in a row. So there's those duplicates in there too. So um, those typically don't get the votes. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So that's a pretty good giveaway, is when they're right next to each other. They're pretty easy to identify. So yeah, go ahead. Sure. So the idea of ranking within the request you have out, right, within the customer, ranking their individual enhancement requests for what they would be most important, and then maybe sharing that across the group to see if other people want to also contribute to that. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll have to learn a little bit more about how that system is built. I don't know how it's built necessarily. So maybe there's a way to do that. I'm not sure at the moment, so I'll have to ask about it. But I think getting visibility into more of the enhancement request is probably like the key, right, to doing this, is because we get so many ideas, and there's so many good ideas, and we just can't do them all, unfortunately. So we need help prioritizing, and that's where all of you come in. But if you don't know what's out there, then how can you effectively do that? So I think we need to look at ways to communicate, obviously, that a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, and that's where we have to take a little bit of the statement was, there might be a request out there that when it was submitted, no one was necessarily thinking about that, but times have changed, and now it's becoming more and more relevant. So how would we even know those are out there? And that right. Right. So we and that's on us a little bit, to not a little bit. It's all on us to make sure that we are recognizing those things and the ideas, and that it's also lining up with the things that we're trying to accomplish with the product. Because there are some things that when we look at it, it's like, I can totally see where this makes a big difference for probably this customer. But I don't know that it would be, we have to weigh the trade-offs between, okay, what are we not going to do in development if we do this instead, right? So if it's only going to affect a small portion of customers, it's not that we don't think it's a good idea, but it's, what are we not going to do in the rest of the product? Are we taking resources away from APS multi-plant, or are we taking resources away from Gen AI, or whatever it is? There's only so much capacity, so we have to try and figure out the things that are going to make the most impact for customers, but also fit into the vision of our roadmap. Yeah.
Session on it this week. It was yesterday. It was just great. She was in there.
Multi-plant with APS is planned for limited release this October. It's called multi-shop floor, but it's,
I don't know.
It's all the same thing.
Each warehouse is its own manufacturing facility.
Yes. Yes.
So there are caveats right now. You need to go look at the presentation or read some material to see if it's something you want to explore. But yes, it is. They've been working on it. It's in some stage of beta. Late beta stage.
So right now we have one customer live on multi-plant that uses MRP planning. So it was built for MRP planning first, and all the groundwork was laid to. We'll go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here to move a bunch of the item attributes down to the item warehouse level, like planner code and I don't know the list off the top of my head, but there's, I don't know, a dozen or a dozen and a half or so.
Current BOM, actual
yes.
BOM, planner code, item source, supply site, etc., all at the item warehouse level instead of at the item
Yeah.
level, that then feeds into other extra stuff to give you multi-plant functionality, as in each warehouse can be an individual, separate, separated, just made that up, manufacturing facility.
Yes. Sure. Yes, it is.
It's only been 12 years, so.
Better late than never.
Everything I've heard is about everyone's enhancements not being worked on. How do we know which ones you own?
That's up to us. How do we know which enhancements we are working on?
What is the process? What is what happens after an enhancement request gets submitted, and you guys look at it and you're like, you know what, this seems like a really good fit for a lot of our customers. It's justifiable. What happens after that?
There is a handful of statuses that we have, and we disposition it to a status. It could be something that we think is a good idea. We don't have capacity for it right now, so it's a future consideration. Like, we're not saying we're never going to do it, but we don't have the capacity at the moment. It could be something that we look at and say, I just don't think that that's going to fit into our particular roadmap. It sounds more like something maybe that there should be a customization for, and we could disposition it that way. And then there could also be, we need more information. Maybe we have questions. So there will be times where we read through something we don't quite understand, maybe the scenario or the business use case. So we'll put a comment in there that says, please explain X, Y, Z. And it's me and one other person sitting there and saying, okay, I wonder if this is what they're talking about. So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that whoever submitted it gets a notification that we have a question, because I think it's like a waiting customer or something is what the status is. So I think you should get a notification that we've responded and have a question. So, some of them are in that status, where we're waiting to hear back. And I understand now we're responding to things that are several years old, and it might be a little bit of a moot point, but we got to get through everything. We got to catch up. So there are statuses for on the roadmap. So when we officially say that, yep, this is something we're going to do, and when we think we're going to do it, now that's a really big step, because once we say that, we get hung up if we don't do it. So, right. So we need to be sure that we're going to really commit to doing that. And of course, things change, right? I mean, that's, the disclaimer that we always have to talk about. But what we really try to do is not, we don't want to commit to something until we know we're really going to do it, because we don't want to let people down. So if it's something that we mark as on the roadmap, we'll put the intended release on there. What I will say is that in the past, that hasn't been maintained. So if it moves releases or if it ends up getting implemented, there hasn't been consistency in going back and updating that, which needs to be done. So there's some of those out there that we need to clean up that I've read through, and I'm like, well, we already did that. And then that would be another one, right, is, on the roadmap or, in process. There's things that can still say in process that were several years old, and either we did or didn't do. So there's multiple paths that the ERS could go down. Once we determine that it is something we're going to do, we use Jira to track all of our development projects, and so we enter Jira. Product management enters Jira cases for those. And we specify the requirements based on, whatever the enhancement is. And if it's something that's maybe a little more complicated, then we might have to have more interaction with, whoever submitted it, or, just get some feedback on how might other customers use this? That's something that we're also trying to do, is engage with more partners and customers on the things that we are doing, so that we're getting more feedback than just us sitting in a room, and determining what we think, how we think things should be deployed. We've got some pretty good knowledge, but there's so many businesses out there, right? And we want to try and make things as flexible as we can so that everybody, can use them. But anytime it changes a status, you should get an update. Whoever submitted it should be getting an update to indicate that it changed. Yes. Yep. And also if you subscribe to it. So if it's not yours, but you subscribe to it, you should get a enhancement request too, or an email. Well, actually, those are two very good points. So is this process also apply to Factory Track? And then you mentioned Mongoose and Sightline. So right now, those are two separate questions. Right now, we don't actually talk much to Mongoose about what their enhancements are. We should be. It has been... when it comes in and it's when you categorize it to Mongoose or to us, sometimes we get things that should be Mongoose things and Mongoose that gets stuff that should be us, and we switch them back and forth. But then it kind of has fallen off the radar to the other team. But one of the things that I'm trying to drive is that to customers there is no difference. It's the same thing. So we have to think about it as a pair. If it's happening in Mongoose, that affects us. In some cases, that's physically true, and some cases that's physically not true. Mongoose can make updates, and we don't have to do anything to uptake that. Sightline. Right. But I know the people on the Mongoose team, and we need to work with them more. So that's part of this process, is to engage with them more so that there's a common understanding and agreement on what's going to be better for users, because that is what's the most important. Now, Factory Track, technically every product uses the same ERS thing. However, Factory Track is doing something very cool. They are rolling out their own kind of enhancement request system, and I think they maybe built it in Mongoose. And I'm not quite sure how it works, but Matthew Manning is here. You should go talk to him. He presented on it, I think, last year at Sun, or either last year at Sun or in the release training, one of the releases. And it's pretty cool what they have keyed up, because they have their BAs, their development business analysts, that are looking at them regularly and commenting back. And it's organized much differently in a much easier way for them to manage. I think somehow it might be tied into they might have, I don't know, APIs or something that they call and access it, but it's really cool. So if you go find Matthew Manning, the product manager for Factory Track, he can explain that, because I'm very intrigued by it. I think it's cool. Yeah, that's a good question. Oh yeah, the office hours. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah. Sure. Yes. Not as part of our effort, but we have monthly meetings with Matthew. He's their one product manager. And we do have monthly meetings with him, and we talk about those types of things at our monthly meetings. We talk about making sure we're aligned on what enhancements we are doing that they need to put in. Yeah. Okay. And I did ask him the other day the other day, a few months ago, about the enhancement requests, and they are looking at them. And that's why they designed this whole new process, is because it was very difficult it's hard on our end to use the system that we have. So that's why they are putting this into place. And so I think it might be coming for April. I don't recall offhand, but I know he had a roadmap session. I don't know when he was doing that. Today, maybe? I'm not sure. We'll probably talk about it there. Yeah. I can forward it to you. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how it got started, but Matthew Manning, yeah. It's with one T, though. If you're going to email him, it's with one T, Mathew. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like a forum kind of, yeah. Probably. I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. I think we could probably figure out a way to do that. So just for reference for you guys, we are done planning for October of this year, and we are into April of next year that we are specifying all of the enhancements for. So we're about a year to, and we're starting to look at October even for next year. So we're starting to run, which is good, because for a while we were running pretty slim there. But now we're starting to look further out and have roadmap further out. So so we're all the things, when we're looking at what we want to put into a roadmap, it's going to be a little bit when we decide, yes, we're going to do this. But and that's one of the unfortunate things, is it just takes a while to get things through the pipeline.
So, said another way, if any of us submitted an enhancement request today and it was the most amazingest thing ever, the earliest that it would possibly be in would be October of next year.
I mean, not necessarily. We have the ability to swap things out, right? But because of the length of time it takes to get everything through the business analyst process, and then documented in the business analyst process, and then go through the development process and do all the iterations, and then code freezes. And so once we get through all of that, once you start down that path, it's hard to switch. So, but I mean, just like you guys do change orders for your customers, right? I mean, it's part of life and it happens all the time. We have the ability to do the same. We don't like to, because we publish, roadmaps and things. But if something comes up that we think is really, really important, then we do have the ability to swap that out.
Glitter balloons.
Well, hopefully we're not going to need to do that as much, because again, once we have this cleanup process done, the intent is to stay on top of it a lot more, because that's what you guys deserve. So that's what we're planning on doing, and it'll be a lot quicker. Things will be dispositioned quicker, and we'll have a much more robust process in place for, if we say that's a good future idea, we go back and review the future ideas every now and then, and actually look at them and say, okay, we said this back then. What are we doing now? right now we're in kind of a really big shift of a lot of things with UI UX, and so there's a lot of different activities going on right now, which is awesome. But it's, you know, the big push for all the AI stuff, and so once we get through cleaning up and things start settling down a little bit, I think we'll start to settle into a little bit more of a rhythm and a routine where we can start looking at doing more of these. You know, I pulled out a list of about 90 enhancement requests that, from my experience, I was a business analyst before I came to Infor, I think would be pretty much low-hanging fruit, that I said, okay, if you have a couple of days in between projects, work on these, like adding a currency symbol to a service order report, or, you know, I mean, there's a number of things. So yes, yeah, I mean, there's so many like little things out there that would, yes, absolutely make sense. So add serial numbers to the material transactions form. Sure. That's a great topic and probably a good one to end on, because my former company, the IT director is a very close friend of mine, and she's like, we are never going to the cloud. We have way too many customizations that there is no way that we can ever do it. And you know, we've started this LEAP program, and, you know, where I think they're offering some, you know, different incentives, but it's like, well, are the incentives enough to offset rewriting all of your customizations? Because that's the reality, right? And so we haven't reached the point yet where we're talking about that, but I understand completely that is the biggest barrier for people, is that I don't know, I'm not necessarily opposed to the cloud, but it is such a daunting task thinking about getting there and rewriting all my customizations that I can't either afford it, or, you know, because I've spent however much money over however many years, or you know, I don't have the people to do it, or whatever the situation may be. So, you know, I think that's something that yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Do you remember where you were and who said it? Okay. Might have been, I think I might have an idea. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Taking the opportunity to look at what your customizations are and do any data cleanup that you have. And, those are all really great things that you don't have to wait for. They're not the most fun things to probably do, but it will help you, because if you can cut your list of customizations down from 300 to 200, because, 15 of these reports were asked for somebody 12 years ago that doesn't even work here anymore. Okay, well, just knock those right off the top of the list, right? And so, those are things that you can start on now to do that, and kind of to the other point. One of the other things that we're looking, or that, no, not we're looking, well, that we are going to do is with the new IDS forms, is we are going to build some kind of a tool to help people migrate from the classic forms to the IDS forms. I don't know what that looks like yet, because we don't have the finished versions of the forms. And I know I've been saying this for a while, but we can't design what we don't have an end product on. So, but that is a commitment that we have made, is that we are going to build some sort of tool to help people migrate. So, I don't know if that's also going to impact cloud or on-prem to cloud, but it's a similar concept, right? So I can imagine that, I can tell you I will be asking for it. I don't know if that will be, if it'll happen, but I think we should have something like for that. So, yeah.
In general, getting rid of customizations is easy. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen automatically, but I'm not sure if I understood your whole thing, but like, yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we could update the archive status maybe and say, yeah, we've implemented this. To think of, I think if so, the question was, say Infor puts the request on like future consideration, and then so we go ahead and develop the customization on our own. Well, what happens if then you implement it down the road, whatever, 5 years or whatever, and then how do we know that we don't need to use our customization because we don't want to maintain the code for that for forever? So how do we go back? How do we know? And so that's a really interesting thought. I mean, it's not something we're doing right now, but that's a really interesting thought to go back and look through the history of all of the enhancement requests and update any that might have been out there for that.
I mean, so I mean, first things first, what they end up building and implementing is not going to be identically what you put in your enhancement request, right? It's going to be super close, possibly, but it's not going to be exactly the same thing. So until that day comes and you've got yours and everything's all in here, you know, when you're working through your development, integration, testing process, you should be hitting that and you should be deciding what to do at that point, just naturally as a part of your internal processes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that tool is FormSync.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, as an implementation consultant, my job when I come into your company on a brand new implementation or a re-implementation or we want to look at upgrading to version 10 is to sit down with you and train you on that version, say for example version 10, and then talk about your business requirements. And okay, so you've got version 8 or 9 or whatever you're currently on. Do we even need to do anything to fit these business requirements? Notice I said business requirements. I didn't ask you how you met that business requirement. I asked you what that business requirement is. So, you know, if you tell me that your old system worked this way, so your new system needs to work this way, that's kind of a non-starter. That's a non-starter. That conversation could go nowhere. I am stuck rebuilding your old system in the new system at that point. And at that point, I might as well not even go to P10. Yeah, might as well go have whiskey. So part of my job is to sit down with you and discuss your business requirements and show you what the software is and can do. And either the software has a function that directly meets that business requirement, or we have maybe a small workaround that we can do that will cause that business requirement to be met, or we have some sort of large workaround that can happen, which we can then discuss whether it's worth it or not to actually build a customization or a modification. At which point, we then build that in version 10 so that when it comes time for you to do your upgrade and switch over, it's there. So
Also, us to track those changes 5 years from now, certain features or whatever.
yes. So furthermore, as those customizations are made, it is on your internal IT department to then manage those customizations as future monthly and feature set releases happen in the cloud, and you have an opportunity to test them against those customizations and so on. Now, lots of partners offer this as a bit of a service and so on and so forth, so I can't speak for them. But in general, that's on you.
But it also might be a competition.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So any extra information you can get is good, but it's not on Infor to give you a heads up that your customization is going to be broken because of this feature set up with.
We're actually working on tools that will do some of that. So I don't know when, I am not a technical business analyst. I'm a functional, so I don't understand the technical side necessarily. But I know we do have things out there that we are working on to help you identify those things, to help you identify your customizations, to help you identify what might be affected by monthly releases. So I know we're working on that stuff. I don't know the details of that, but yeah. So, well, go ahead. Mm.
Yeah, so
Mm. Mm.
yeah, so
Wow. Interesting.
yeah, I mean, I've done probably a dozen, uplifts from on-prem to cloud, and the vast majority of them have been very similar to that. Like, everybody was super scared about losing all of their
To
customizations.
take a leap of faith.
It was in version 8, and we got them in version 10. As a matter of fact, in at least a couple of cases, we didn't. It's not like we did a go live, but we just took what they had and stuck it in 10, and then let their users start using it, and they were like, "This is great." Like, we need some of our, end user mods, purchase orders, and things like that, but it just kind of went okay. And I'm not saying that that's going to be true for everyone, but you might be surprised. It looks amazing. It's all blue and white. And and a lot of companies. And getting away from the fat client to a web client, a lot of people view that as like, oh my god, this is gonna be the worst. And it's actually great. I can tell you, I've been using the web client almost exclusively for 8 years, and I vastly prefer it. Vastly. Particularly when you pair it with single sign-on that you get in multi-tenant cloud, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of really good things going on. Oh god, that would be amazing. But then they would have to let all your users in. I don't think Rihanna's
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one.
You need the import knowledge base product manager, import how's yours?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I would say you probably need a combination of Paul Horn, who does product management for for OS, and Doug Frank, who does support. Get those two cornered in a room and maybe have them hash it out, because one owns support and one owns portal. So, so I hope this has been helpful for everybody. I believe in transparency. There's a lot of things I kind of technically can't talk about, but I do like to be as transparent as possible because I know what it's like being on the other end and not getting transparency. So just want to thank everybody for coming, and please reach out if you ever have questions.
Some
So
whiskey
here to help.
and glitter balloons next year.
Glitter
For all your
balloons.
important enhancement requests.